One thing that I have never done in the best ball space is enter a $1,000 buy-in tournament. Today, that changes, and I take all of you along for the ride with me. Let's get it.
Three, two, one, liftoff.
What's going on, everyone? Of course, I am your host, Rob Coakley from Spike Week, and today I will be starting a series on doing a $1,000 buy-in tournament. I'm doing it as a slow draft so that we can talk through all these picks amongst myself because I'm the only one that's doing it. But at least you'll be able to hear my little thought pattern on what I'm doing here, why I'm taking the players that I'm taking. But before we jump in and make our first two picks, because spoiler alert, we drew the 112, which of course, right? Like it wouldn't be a Spike Week draft without drafting from the back end of the draft. But we drew the 112. What I want to do first is just for those that are unfamiliar, I'd like to go over the actual rules for the Mastiff. So the Mastiff is a $1,000 buy-in tournament, and you do your normal groups of 12, right? The difference is at the end of round one, which is the first 14 weeks, 6 out of those 12 players advance. So there's a 50% advance rate amongst that first grouping. And then round two is going to be a 6-person group, and 3 out of those 6 people advance. So again, we're doing another 50% of that field is advancing. And then round 3, simply a 4-person grouping where 2 of those 4 advance. So every time you advance, you have a 50% chance of advancing to the next round again until you get to round 4. In round 4, that is where all the money is. That is week 17, where we are playing for first place, which is $20,000. So I wanted to break that down. So the advance rate on this is a little bit different than what we are used to. I figured keep that in mind as we're drafting. This is probably going to be the only Mastiff that I do draft, just based on a number of different things. So firstly, it's $1,000 to buy in, which is a big sum of money to do that. Secondly, I live in Massachusetts. Deposit limits are kind of crazy here. We're limited to a certain amount of money, so this takes up a big chunk of that. The deposit limits kind of mess up some of the stuff that I would like to do, so I got to be a little careful on what tournaments I'm actually buying into. So I can only do this one Mastiff, but you all get to do it with me. So without further ado, let's go ahead and look at what we got going on here at the 112 spot. So as you can see, we have already started this draft, and it started off relatively normal. We saw Jefferson, Chase, McCaffrey go, Tyreek Hill, Cooper Kupp, and Travis Kelce, the normal 6. Eckler goes 7, just like normal. A little bit of mix up in the next few where Diggs goes 8, Bijan goes at the 9, CeeDee Lamb actually goes at the 110, AJ Brown falls to 111. He goes there. If AJ Brown had fallen, I do think he would have been one of my 2 picks here for sure. Because that AJ Brown, after AJ Brown and Stephon Diggs, I've said it before, it's kind of a tear break for me. So that leaves what we have on the board now, right? We have Nick Chubb up here, Garrett Wilson, Amon-Ra, Devontae Adams. This is that normal back end of the draft. It makes you kind of look at things and say, well, we have to remember that we're advancing 50% of the teams out of this field instead of 2 out of 12. It's 6 out of 12. What is the best strategical a word? What is the best strategy that we can implement to do that? Everybody has different takes, right? Some people would double tap wide receiver here. Garrett Wilson, Amon-Ra is a lot of fun. If I were to do something like that, that's the way I would go with it. What about getting some week 17 correlation, right? Nick Chubb, Garrett Wilson. That's a little bit of a fun little week 17 correlation there. Problem with that particular one is how often do we think that's being done at this tail end? I know it's a shorter field, but that Nick Chubb, Garrett Wilson one must be done at a relatively frequent rate, right? So I think we're going to pass on doing that. The other one would be Amon-Ra with Tony Pollard. There's a week 17 correlation. They play in the Dome. We like that matchup. But I think I am investing $1,000 into a best ball team. I understand that other people do this differently, but I'm looking at two different combinations of players that I want here. I either want to go double running back here, which I know is shocking, right? Just not standard what we talk about. But I think getting Nick Chubb and Tony Pollard would really just put me above the rest of the field at that particular position. Having Nick Chubb, having Tony Pollard, two guys that I think are going to be vying for the number one overall running back spot this year. Just getting that positional edge at running back, I think, would be a huge advantage. The other thing I'm looking at is one of these running backs with, shocker, Patrick Mahomes. We're doing a 50% advance rate. We get the best quarterback in the league, likely to score top 3 in points, give us a huge edge at the quarterback position. We pretty much have that tied up, right? And then we have one of the top running backs in the league as well. This wide receiver range from Garrett Wilson to like Olave, Devonta Smith, basically is kind of one big tier for me. I do like having two of those guys, and in Best Ball Mania tournaments that I'm firing a lot of bullets, for sure taking guys like that, taking those pairings. This is basically a single entry for me, most likely. Maybe we fire a second if I can figure some stuff out. As of now, this is a single bullet. So what am I most comfortable with for my single bullet? Is it Nick Chubb, Tony Pollard, or is it Tony Pollard and Patrick Mahomes? And it's kind of a coin flip for me, to be perfectly honest. I like both. But I think what I'm going to do in terms of just what I want to root for on this team, I think we're going to take Tony Pollard and Patrick Mahomes. In fact, I'm not going to say that I think it. I know it. Let's go ahead and let's click the button. Let's grab Pollard. Let's grab Patrick Mahomes. And we're going to build our team that way. We're going to build it with what I think is the positional edge at quarterback. When we're advancing 6 out of 12 teams, I get who I believe is the most undervalued running back in the draft, even though he's a second-round pick, in Tony Pollard. And we're going to build through that. So as you see, we are doing the turn picks here. We got Patrick Mahomes. We got Tony Pollard. And we will be back on the clock and drafting another 2 picks in this crazy little $1,000 buy-in slow draft. Hopefully everyone enjoys the ride. I'll try to talk through some more stuff as we get further along. The strategy obviously is going to develop a little bit more. I don't have many people to bounce off ideas to, so these will be a little bit shorter, of course. But until next time, hopefully you're going to enjoy this series on doing a freaking $1,000 buy-in. Bonkers, right? Let's go. Woo! Those were some spicy takes. Want to stay up to date with all of the other spicy takes we're going to have over here at Spike Week? Why don't you press that subscribe button below? You turn notifications on, we draft a team, boom, you know about it. We have another spicy take, boom, you know about it. You can be there. You can draft with us. You want to stay up to date? That's how you do it. All right, we'll catch you later next time here at Spike Week.